talk about a topic and I'm relating it to intranets and to digital workplaces. So I'm talking internal to organisations, although a lot of what we cover tonight is obviously relevant to websites. It's the first time I've actually done this presentation, so I will need to read my notes from time to time. I'm a managing partner and consultant at ABCW. I'm the AB, and my business partner, her name is Cara Walker, so she's the CW. I've been working on intranets and digital workplaces for a long time. My first intranet in 2001 with Telstra, and I've been consulting and internet managers and contracting for many years. My interest is about people. My interest is about the outcome of technology. I'm not interested in technology per se. Of course, it's interesting, but I'm really interested in the people who are using our tools. Question one for everyone. Who here works with external-facing websites in UX? Okay. Who here works with internal-facing, so intranets? Great. And people doing both? Excellent. Okay. Just what I like. Tonight we will explore some principles of psychology and neuroscience of design within our organisations. As I say, the principles equally apply to websites, and I want to explore if there are any differences between internal and external. So who's formally trained in UX here? Yep, good. Anyone with a psychology qualification? Excellent. Any neuroscientists in the room? Okay. We've got a pretty smart audience, no doubt, to start with. I don't have formal qualifications in any of these, but I've been working in the space and doing design for many years. So when I decided to do this topic around about Christmas time, it was more, I really should know more about this, and I'm really interested in learning about it. So I've done some research and I've come up with some findings and things, and I'm going to talk about them tonight, and I welcome thoughts and comments and corrections if I got things wrong. But I will start by positioning my opinion that I actually think intranets are much more complicated than websites, typically. I know there are exceptions, so just bearing that in mind as we talk through tonight. I'm a big advocate of user research, going out talking to those users who are going to be eventually using the outcomes of my design. I want to understand what tasks they're doing, they're trying to complete, the challenges for them when they're working, for finding the information and tools that they need. User research, I believe, is vital to identify what content capabilities the internet or digital workplace requires. User research is explicit and it covers off those needs of my users. Often some of the learnings in organisations aren't easily transferable to another organisation. This particular organisation has a culture, has a particular bunch of staff, and how they do things is quite unique. But I also know that so much of how we respond to an online page or application is actually quite subconscious. We'll ask someone, what do you think of this web page or application or site? And you'll get a pretty immediate response with, oh yeah, it's good, or I don't like it. It's pretty instant. But when we ask them why do you like it, or why do you not like it, often people have to go, have a bit of a think about it. As well as a consultant, I often leave clients with a carefully crafted set of wireframes. I need to come back at a later date and find that they've changed things all around. When I ask why, they tell me, well, the boss thought it would be better. So maybe it happened to anyone else, it certainly happened to me. So I wanted to do some research behind some of the design principles, so I think a more scientific backup for my decisions. So what I've learned, in summary, is that we do need to consider our brains in order to do good design. And that will turn to things such as psychology and neuroscience. Now, when we started, I was aware of things like, the F pattern of reading on an opera side. But I wonder if there's any more that I need to know about. Yes, there are. There's a few more. Some of these I was familiar with, some I wasn't, some I actually knew what it was about, I just didn't know they had some fancy name. Then I came across this book, I haven't seen before, and that's by Susan Weinschel. All the 100 things we need to know about people for our designs, or something like that. And I also discovered she has another book called 100 Things about. So yeah, there's quite a few things we need to know about our brains. They are certainly complex things. Needless to say, I'm not covering the book tonight. I'm just going to pick a couple of things. So yeah, it's pretty much an overwhelming list of what we need to know about our brains, or the things we can know about our brains, and that we should possibly be aware of, so we develop better designs. So let's start with some basics. I was pleased to learn in my research that the human brain is lazy, biased, and prone to shortcuts. So it isn't just me. Neuroscience tells us we have two ways of thinking. System one, fast thinking, automatic, frequent, subconscious, a bit like that gut reaction. Don't like that. It's our lazy brains. It's where we tend to fall into that sort of thinking more often than not. System two is that slow thinking. It's calculating, it's conscious, and we use it when we're being analytical or trying to understand complex scenarios. I also learned that while relatively small compared to the rest of the body, our brains consume 25% of their body's oxygen. And so the brain being lazy is actually a survival instinct. It relies where it can on pattern recognition and shortcuts, so less energy is spent consciously processing every situation it faces. So we need to incorporate our lazy brains into our future designs. Here's the easiest one we all probably are familiar with, the F pattern of content layout. When we're faced with text-heavy pages or very complicated pages, our brain says, that's way too much. But I know, we're in an intranet, so we haven't got anywhere else to go, we have to find it here. Is this page going to be relevant for me? Our brain automatically says, let's look across the top, because we're used to reading left to right in our culture. We will read the heading first, and then we'll quickly scan down the left-hand side, looking for headings, dot points, for key sentences that start paragraphs. If we think we then find something of interest, we will then bother to sit down and read. And I think this is particularly important for intranets. As I said, I think intranets tend to be quite complex. They are information rich. They often have very badly written pages and blocks of content on them. Hopefully as UX designers you're hoping to design otherwise, but we have to be aware. So it's really something we can take into account when we design. As we know, people rarely read every word on a page. That's why we focus on dot points. First two sections are the most important, and we need enticing keywords. So let's help our users come to a page. Let's not get excited that we're in front of a keyboard and we can write beautiful flowing sentences. Because our users don't care. They want their information, they want to do their job, they want to talk. Okay. Now, I don't know if anyone else's brain occasionally looks like this, but we're overwhelmed with information these days. And our attention spans are getting shorter. And as we know, this applies to all the users of our intranets. So when we're hugely overwhelmed, our brains really have to try very hard to focus and put our attention on what we really need to do. We have explicit ways of doing this, which might include sitting at your desk, closing a door, ignoring email, turning off the phone, focusing on the to-do list. When we see a text-heavy page or a cluttered internet page, our brains also kick into action. And they are looking for techniques to sort through the chaos. One technique is to refer to mental models, familiar patterns of information and interaction. In other words, I'll come to a page and go, well, I'm used to intranet, normally there's heading, this is how pages are usually laid out, there might be relevant links on the right-hand side, something down the bottom of the page. If it's not like that, brain goes into a spin. Unlike marketing type websites, where you go, I don't like this website, I really don't like this website, I'll go find another one. In most organisations, hopefully, there's only one internet. Universities definitely exception to that. And so they have to come here. Often intranets are sorely neglected by our management. And what do we need to do more better? People are trying to get that job done. We really need to focus carefully on how we can deliver it to them. So we need to understand a little bit about human attention in order to design an effective experience for staff. So let's look at how the brain works. Okay, I'm going to show you a short video, it only goes for 2 minutes. It's about selective attention. It's called the monkey business illusion. I would imagine most people have seen it. Okay, a few people have seen it. Let's have a little look.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball.
Start counting.
The correct answer is 16 passes.
Anyone get that? Good.
Did you spot the gorilla?
Yep.
For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla.
Did anyone not see the gorilla?
If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion.
It is, thank you very much.
Learn more about this illusion and the original gorilla experiment at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
Okay. So, selective attention. When we have a task to complete, we will focus on one thing and we filter out all the other noise around us or distractions, and that is absolutely the same on a web page. I'm busy, I haven't got much time, I need to get this job done, I want to go and look for just what I need. I don't care what else is on the page. So let me introduce you to an experience that I had, and this is to do with change blindness. So a number of years ago I did some work for the Federal Department of Human Services. everyone may have worked on this project from time to time. And if we may recall, human services covers Centrelink, Medicare and child support. As you can imagine, there's an awful lot in their databases. Once upon a time, there were 3 databases, but in someone's infinite wisdom, they decided it'd be a hell of a lot easier if we put everything in one place, which is interesting. So, this is operational blueprint. This is the information, the knowledge kit that is given to customer service on the phone, front of house. So, one tiny little part of this, eligibility for crisis payment. A page of content, these are just expandable links, and under each one of those there is a whack of content. It goes right on down. It's a huge page. Plus, there is a whole lot of, there's a bit of background, the process, references, training and support. It's amazing amounts of content on this page. And as if you've ever waited on hold for Centrelink, people have a lot of trouble finding the information to give to you. So I was there and I had to do some user research about how they were using it, and the project team said to me, can you ask everybody you interview how they've found these new tabs? I said, sure, not a problem. 70%. Oh, I've never seen them. They've been there about 6 months. Never seen them. Obviously no one had done any comms with it. Oh, okay. Oh, what's in there? And we opened them up, those 2 little tabs, and they went, oh my God, that's fantastic. It gave them lists of acronyms that is spread all through the content. It gave them so much really valuable content. It was really nicely designed. So I'm like, oh wow, thanks for coming and talking to me. So I actually did a training session. I thought it was really valuable. It was very valuable to me. I saw this selective attention in action. The other one that we probably are aware of, I hope, is banner blindness. We know that even on intranets, and I'm sure we are with a lot of websites, but even on intranets, the banner typically has stuff we're not interested in, or it may have our search field. I know that's there, I don't need to look at it. So if anyone says, oh, we can put something in the banner, that's nice, yeah, excellent. Just don't expect anyone to see it. If you really want people to see it, you've got to communicate some of these changes. The staff at Centrelink are so focused on trying to find the information they need. It's terribly complex. So, I'll come back to that later. Anyone had any similar experiences? Or there's one up the back, that's right.
Yes, Pascal and I know very well about one. At Monash University, their standard page for students was a similar kind of normal student website page. Yep. We introduced a help slider which came out from the right, almost exactly like that.
Yep.
And we did some field testing. I think Pascal, you did the testing in there.
Yeah, we did eye tracking studies. And we made them pink, we made them jump up and down, and people just still focus on the task instead of the good. We found a way to make them visible, but it was actually quite amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's a non-standard item.
It's not, I mean, I did have people say, oh, I've seen them, but I didn't know they were for me, so I didn't touch them. But that's okay. But yeah, it's just, and obviously they had
made them bigger.
We made them big, we made them pink,
Yeah.
we made them jump.
Said
quite funny.
help. Help.
Yeah, well, that's it.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. But it was so valuable. It was like, I went back to say, it's great, but no one knows about it. But when they say it, they love it. Go out, do training, put communications out, make sure one person in each office is aware that it's there so they can then go and handhold others in the office.
Amanda, did you find any issues with people having challenges reading the writing because it's not a
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that was part of it as well. Why the hell should I have to screw my head around when I've got an awful lot to do anyway? But yeah, I was just, no, they haven't even seen it from many people. Oops. So, Hicks Law, never heard of Hicks Law until I read the last article, but we certainly know what it's all about. Hicks Law says increasing the number of choices will increase decision time. I don't think any of us are particularly surprised about that. A very simple law to understand and to do something about. But Hicks Law describes that the time it takes for a person to make a decision is dependent on the choices available to them. So if you increase the number of choices, you'll increase decision time. And our users have little time. Now, I do realise this is a fairly extreme example, and it does go back about 10 years. Another government department. This was their intranet homepage. True. Now, part of me looks at it and goes, oh well, if that's what they had on their intranet, that's, well, it's awful and ugly. But I guess that's still right. I don't think many other organisations get everything on their intranet on one page. And of course, the other thing about this, everything was less than 3 clicks away.
Which makes sense for an intranet.
It does, but most organisations have a whole lot more content than that. And people I talk to, they got used to it. I know they got used to it. And we all get used to things. Heaven forbid a poor new starter coming and going, oh. I said to one fellow, right, now if we redesign, I said, where would you expect to find, I can't remember what the form was, and he went, oh, if I'm looking at my screen, it's in the middle, down about there. That's where I'd like to find it in the future. Cool. But of course we need, we typically have a hell of a lot more content, and we need to present content differently. So to avoid the best implementation of Hicks Law, there's a couple of things we need to look at. Categorising. So categorising choice. You've got so much content, we need to be able to not just present everything, but we have to group things. Bring things down to a smaller number. So for instance, our nav bar across the top, we want to be grouping our content, make sure people understand it. You can use card sorting, tree testing kind of tools here to make sure this works well. Don't there's a thing or two about those things. And of course the other thing, when we're working with intranets versus we're working with websites, we are actually working with a relatively known audience group. Now if you work at more faculty, you're not going to know everyone in the organisation. I do understand that. But you've got a lot more opportunity to be able to slice and dice your audience groups, understand the types of people you have, more so than you have on a website. So you can really get into understanding how to group content for your specific audience. The other implication of Hicks Law is if you have a complex process to present on your internet, Hicks Law tells us that instead of throwing the entire process in one long form, break it down, present specific parts of that process at one time on the screen, and making it a lot more user-friendly. Thoughts or comments on any of that? Then we have Miller's Law. Again, I've never heard of the title, just the reflection. But Miller's Law is about the number of objects that we can sort of reasonably hold in our memory at any one time. And it tells us that it's around about 7 items. It's a bit contentious. I'm sure lots of people will agree, not agree. If they want to design things well, it should be a big issue. I would tend to agree. But you look at something like that and you go, ooh, even 9 things or a smaller number would be a much more attractive number of breaking up content on a page. It makes it very difficult. So Hicks Law is about the time and effort required to make choices, and Miller's Law is about memorability and focus. My example for that was I did some tree testing a number of years ago. I was doing the old-fashioned card tree testing, where I had scenarios and I had a list of I had cards for the top level of navigation, and then I had cards for the next level down. I said to one fellow, there was a heading, probably finance or something, and I said, here were 15 subcategory levels. So sorry, not levels, topics, subtopics. And I said to the guy, the scenario is, can you find the details about claiming an expense? Now, I was doing this, of course. Item 15 was expenses. I could see, because he was sitting across from me, I could see him read down to about 10 items, and that was it. He then went back up those 10 items and said, there's nothing here I would go to do anything to do with expenses. It's like, what that tells me is there's definitely some element of truth in those numbers, and we need to think about our people, whether they're doing that just because how they are, or whether that's something we need to think about. So we want to make things a lot easier for our staff. So subsequently, we develop all kinds of, hopefully, beautifully designed landing pages, which hopefully you've all designed over the years. And that will help us. We don't always need to hold that much in our memory. We design it nicely, then I can come in here at any time, and it's easy for me to find what I'm looking for. And in this case, it's like with content, we want to basically chunk all our information into meaningful groups. And testing is always good. You can always, as a consultant, I think I've come up with the best, I've done card sorting and I've spoken to lots of people. I think I've come up with the best navigational structure ever. And then I do testing. Oh, yeah, okay. Lots of people think differently from me. And that's my job, is to then make sure my biases are put aside and we deliver for that particular organisation. Okay, so I guess just really a couple of things that we want to think about when we're trying to make things easier for our users. Only provide them with what they need. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time on the internet. We're not going to the internet for a casual browser. We've got time for that. I'm going to talk to us. We're going there to actually achieve something. We're going to look for something. We're trying to complete a task. So less is a lot more on the internet work. Make sure your content is scalable. Put the most important content elements at the top of the page. Make things obvious. Make decisions about priority of content. Get rid of anything that's not contributing. And communicate change where necessary. And it's not just because that's a nice thing to do. That's what our brains want. So let's incorporate these things into our designs. Okay, Gestalt principles of visual perception. You all know about those? Okay, so the Gestalt principles, psychologists like that might know, are a set of laws arising from 1920s psychology, which deals with the theory of visual perception. It suggests that our brains are designed to see structure and patterns for us to understand the world that we are living in. And understanding these Gestalt principles can help UX designers create websites, intranets, etc., which actually influence user behaviour and help with developing a pleasing user experience. Okay, so typically there's three that have different names and different books that I've come across, but they're basically 6 cognitive principles, and each influence us on how we should arrange visual information within our designs in order to assist understanding and to avoid misinterpretations. And as a very simple example, we can look at that as a simple misinterpretation, perhaps colouring the wrong way. So, you know, it's simple, but things to think about. Of the 6 principles, I just want to look at 2 of them. First one being similarity. So the principle of similarity suggests that elements which are similar tend to be grouped together. So our brain wants structure and they want pattern. So from a visual perspective, the brain will try and craft a link between elements of a similar nature. So when we're designing, we need to bear that in mind. So let's have a bit of a look at an example. Can anyone here see some examples of similarity? Can you read it? See it? Colour. So we've got, news related are all the green column, and obviously all the social is the blue. Anything else? So basically, similarity is used to indicate to our users common elements. The principle of similarity can be applied to content, links, headers, etc. For instance, links should always be uniform and presented in the same way. The fonts used for the different levels of headings should be consistent across the intranet. One thing that is useful is though when we have the principle of similarity, we can then use something that doesn't conform to highlight it. So this is not the greatest example, but this colouring is slightly different. I don't think the font's any bigger, but it might be because they've capitalised all the heading, so that helps it stand out. Probably a lot of better ways to be standing out. Now, when I work with intranets, everyone agrees with me that yes, there should be consistency across an intranet. Staff in an organisation aren't necessarily there to appreciate the most beautiful designs. They will appreciate it, but that's not going to help them necessarily with nice colours and photographs and what have you. Won't help them to get home any earlier. But I do go to, less so now, I do go to many organisations where they go, oh no, it should all be consistent, headings should be the same across the organisation, use of colour should be the same. Except in my area, our area is a little bit different from that. And if you wouldn't mind, can we shuffle it all around? I don't like when I say that. But without, just typically no one is that different. The only audience group that I allow things to be developed differently is for customer-facing staff. Sometimes they actually need their content presented in a different way to the rest of the staff has got time to sit back and find things. Without similarity, users will have a poor experience. And when it's an intranet, they haven't got anywhere else to go, hopefully. Proximity. I quite like this example. So we're talking about things that we put closer together. Again, you look at it and go, oh, this is really obvious. But again, sometimes we just don't always think about it, or we don't implement it as well as we could. When I do a wireframe, in the past I sort of always had boxes here that I used to draw up. In that box with this content, I would show a client that's a wireframe. It's just an indication of where content lays on a page. It's very busy. I don't like the design, it's very busy. So but nowadays I've learned to not get too excited about boxes and use white space a lot better than I did in the past. You can see here, okay, it's at a glance, in a millisecond glance, we know those things are related and those things are related. Yes, there's a heading there, but it's also grouped and the use of that space. Thoughts, examples on that one?
So this is not really particularly good because it tells us that these are related, but not that these are related, because they're closer to each other than those are.
Yep.
So that actually is fairly hard to go, hang on, that's associated with that, not that's associated with that. They're there together as brands and trees, but they're actually too close.
Yep.
To the headings. So screwed it up there.
Yeah. No, that's good. Okay. No, I think this is good.
Probably the dozens off.
You've done it too, these haven't you? Yeah, we want to guide our users to where we need to be. Okay, it's you know, a couple of things to think about there: colours and shapes, things that belong together, and just creating the right amount of space, or creating bigger space when it's something that is not related. So you know, we could go back and redesign those pages. A book on those kind of things is this one. I don't know if anyone's seen this one. And it's really cool book, I think. Okay, so these days we're often overwhelmed with choice. In the restaurant, we handed a 15-page menu, which time I tend to want to scream and run away. Does anyone here put limits on their own choices? By that I mean, for example, my business partner, the CW and ABCW, only wears black. She said it makes shopping so much easier. If I went to a shop and I just go to the black things. I don't care the rest of the shop. Anyone else do anything that goes typically managing here? What's yours?
Take up to 1 minute to decide what to eat.
Okay. Yep.
Then I just compromise.
Yep. Yep. And if I do have a 15-page menu, while I'm not necessarily vegetarian, I'll just go, I'll eat vegetarian tonight, because at least that sort of cuts down the choices. Okay, so that's all about the lovely principle of least effort. Also, don't make in. So this is the final thing we're just going to look at tonight, and again relates back to our lazy brains. I'm quite excited about knowing that it's about a lazy brain. We don't want to think too hard. We don't want to think overly unnecessarily. And there are several ways to do something. We will tend to always go with the easiest way where possible, the way that is least cognitively demanding. If you make it harder for me by putting something on the page that would normally belong in the heading or on the left-hand side, and for some reason you think, oh, doesn't that look good down in the bottom right-hand corner? That is going to annoy you. And then if we all do that across an intranet and do it slightly different, I'm going to be really, really frustrated. I think Jared Spall puts it very nicely in terms of don't make me think, and how we should all be approaching our design. I do think for us it would be great if people came back and went, yeah, of course I hadn't found that. Of course I got that. Why? It's easy. Not, gee, what a great job you UX designers have done. And just an example for that, and this is one I'm a little bit attached to, I just like it. I don't know if anyone follows the Step 2 Innovation Awards. Step 2 is an internet consultancy based in Sydney, and they run annual Innovation Awards. This was a screenshot from a couple of years ago for a company called Anthony Vader, a Dutch shipping company. And what this is, so this is a company that deals in many, many ships. They had multiple back-end systems. So to find out information about a particular ship, they might go to one system to find out about what's it carrying, what's its current load, somewhere else to find out what its next port is, when's it due back, when is it going to be dry docked, etc. So it was always multiple systems. And someone came up with a great idea to actually talk to people and say, well, we're not going to get rid of those back-end systems. Let's use the intranet as a point of integration and design a beautiful page. So for someone who happens to want to know about the coral star, on one page they can see an awful lot of information. I don't think it's particularly cluttered. I think it's particularly well designed. My guess, I don't know, but I can assume I can click on some of these elements and then drill into those systems and drill into them a little further. Anyone else want to make a comment about this? Positive, negative? Anyone not like it? Or? because I don't have a number of teams. I can see query up the back. But I think
It's funny not having numbers aligned.
yeah,
Right. But that's about the only thing.
yeah. Which is, yeah, I just think it's a lovely example. I mean, if anyone's seen the Telstra Me page, which brings in a lot of HR information for Telstra staff, a similar kind of thing. It's using the internet as a point of integration and putting in some nice design. And the resource I also recommend for that one is Don't Make Me Think. These are up here after I've finished if you want to have a look at any of those. I think those three are all really good books. So as I mentioned at the start, there are a number of principles and learnings from psychology and neuroscience that we can incorporate into our designs. And I've only obviously just touched on a few examples. I realised that being aware of these principles is actually pretty important, not only for our current online work model, but as we move into a new world of immersive design. There's going to be a lot of change in technology. There's going to be a lot of change with methodologies. Before about you doing the same project in the same way. It's quite common. But hopefully, for a long time yet, human behaviour will be constant. And there's some of these principles, and you might want to go and investigate more if you're already pretty au fait with them. And I think they'll become very useful for us in other environments. Thank you very much.
We'll open up the floor for questions now. To get started, I've got one though. I have had a few experiences in doing card sorting and intranet design for organisations, and I always ran into the problem of ego. Right? And that tends to be why the homepage is filled with everything else, because the 7 departments that come to the card sorting sessions, whatever it is, all want their thing to be top left. Have you got a strategy or a psychological statement that I can make to them to say, we don't need all of this stuff, right?
Oh gosh, there's lots in that one. I don't particularly have off the top of my head, a neuroscience principle for it. However, the value of doing testing is pretty important. And one of the reasons for, if you can show the boss or whomever is asking for my stuff to be on the top, if you can show test results, either true testing, usability testing, that actually people don't look at the content, right? So it probably shouldn't be on the homepage. That's a pretty powerful idea. A couple of years back, I worked for utilities coming up in Queensland. We did all the wireframe, a lot of effort into it, testing and what have you. And just before they went live, I had moved down the project at that point. Apparently, I went to the project manager and said, someone up top said, right, now, going live very soon, can we just shuffle? She was a great project manager who was able to convince the person to say, it's a bit late to change now. How about we launch with this? We've had some, complaints and upset after the first few days. We'll definitely do that. And of course, it never changed because there was no complaints, no issues. So it's a hard one, and I think all battle it. Donna, have you got any wonderful hints?
I've sometimes figured out a way to give them the thing they want. Like, give them the thing they want when everybody else wants the other thing, and then they're like, look, here's my thing. Here's my little section, yay. And then you make another thing for other people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You can't tell people that their job is important.
No.
No, you're totally unimportant and you're not here, and nobody cares about what you do. No, that one doesn't work very well.
And I look with internet managers, I'm always saying, you don't say no, say to the homepage, but you say, oh, maybe not, but here is where I suggest it would work better. And you might give them their whole entire section, which will make them feel better. But it's
User testing answers the question. A lot of times
Well,
when
not
you're
always,
saying
because you can't
feeling
use a
like you're
test
making them
every
unhappy.
single thing. Yeah.
They're huge IA.
Yeah, that's right. Like you could test every single thing that every staff member at a university is going to do one day.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. So it doesn't answer everything.
And just on that, so I'm at a large university, and for 5 years we've been on an intranet journey. And I've got to admit, the whole time, whilst I've been involved, I keep thinking, I think all we need is like, just give everybody their own links, that you can just create your own links, that you can get through this ridiculous IA, and up to about 10 links that you revisit all the time. And that would probably do about 80 to 90% of what people want.
The cookbook marks.
The cookbook marks. I know. Sometimes you can't edit them if they're in an intranet, so you've got to have.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So they did that, and when they did that, it was fantastic for me, right? Now, I'm not a typical user, mate, but it was fantastic for me. And we've got a very tiled intranet approach, and sometimes even the categories in these tiles, just you don't know what's behind them. But today, just today, they also released this thing where you can now arrange the tiles, and you can customize it. That might do the other 10 or 20% for me. So a list of my favourite links, and then just put things where I want them. Really, it doesn't have to be any harder than that. Like that's an interaction. That's an interaction design as opposed to.
But it's a really good design solution because most people have specific tasks that are unique to themselves and not to everybody
It's
else.
taken us ages to get to this point.
But it is a design.
And years ago, people say, oh, I want to be able to shuffle around my homepage on the internet.
Yeah.
And, people enabled it, it happened, and you'd say, ask them 6 months later, who actually has done that?
That's because they probably did it in SharePoint.
Well, that's true. But I think nowadays, with everybody with their mobile phones, we're now used to actually doing that kind of thing. Whereas, years ago when I was doing
It is getting easier.
It is, and I think the users we're now dealing with are a lot more comfortable and confident on some of these things. To me, it's not about not only confident, some people still are scared of technology, but it's more about, it's some of these things about, what do they actually need and what do they not need? I want to get rid of that. Any other questions? Yep.
Have you had experience in websites or organizations that decided to just minimize the navigation to 10 categories or items and focus on search and improving the search, thus basically catering to the user needs who search and find what they need instead of the management needs who likes to categorize them?
My experience, and please jump in, my experience is that search and navigation is almost equally as important as each other. In this day and age when I test, I still come across browsers, people who, when I say, oh, here's a homepage, where would you look for something? Lots of people go, oh, just go straight to the search box. Great. Other people go, oh, no, I will go through navigation. I want to know where things are. I would like everyone to concentrate on search. It's working in most organisations, although more often than not, search works fine. It's just crap organisations have in their intranets.
Works and maintain,
Yeah.
not just.
So it takes a lot, but I definitely go with, I think if you've done a good IA, it will assist with your searching.